We have Mr. Ross, and Mr. Ross can give us a 3-minute opening statement, and he fully knows how well to do that.
Yeah. First of all, it's an honor and privilege to be here because we do a lot of forums during these campaigns, and this is one of my favorite ones because we get intelligent questions and we have an audience that actually knows what's going on in Georgetown. And I am the wife of Nikki Ross. We've known each other for 40 years, been married for 16, and best friend all my life. And she's an amazing woman, does a lot of good for the city of Georgetown. She's the director of the Williamson Museum, very active in the community. We've been here over 14 years. I've been on council for 3 years before I ran for mayor, served on 6 boards, economic development, which included 2 boards, JEDCO, GTEC, finance, and 3 TERS boards. And so I think in order to lead this city, you have to have deep roots here and you have to understand the people that you want to serve. And this is a servant role, and you do have to listen to the people and see what they want their city to be and how they want their city to be run. And I'm a CPA during the day. I'm a job creator. I've got 9 people working at the CPA office. I opened that back in 2005, and we just keep on growing and as the city grows. So that's pretty much my story as to how we got here today. I will say this. I have accepted every forum that I've been invited to, and my opponent has declined every forum. I don't think he cares for you kind of people, okay? Now, let me tell you what, this is a job interview, and you're interviewing with the people. You can't just send your resume in and say, I'm not going to take any questions. The people have a right to quiz you as you're running for office, and with that said, I encourage all the questions you got.
Excellent. First one's going to start off with a heavy hit. What is your position on transparency of local government?
Well, transparency, in my administration, it's the most transparent 3 years in our city's history. Some people disagree because there are certain things that law prohibits us from disclosing, like our utility contracts, and if we disclose that information, we would be breaking the law. So if you want that information and you want us to give that to you illegally, you would be breaking the law. We disclose everything that we have to. You can find out, if you're an engaged citizen, our workshops are there. They're broadcast on the internet. They're broadcast on replay. Our city council meetings, you can either go there, and I would encourage you to go there because it's a whole different feel when you're there in person. They're downstreamed on the internet. And if you can't make those 2 options work for you, then they're on replay on Channel 10 on Suddenlink, and they are on demand. You can look at each agenda item as you want on the internet. You don't have to listen to the whole meeting. Sometimes there's this misconception that once we get on the dais, the council members are just putting their hands up. Well, if you come to workshop, we may have been discussing an item for 45 minutes to an hour earlier in the day. And second of all, staff gives us a briefing book that is available to all the citizens. It's online. If you do your homework, you read the briefing book just like we can, you get all the information you need, and you can see what the decision point is in front of council. But the discussion on the dais is important, because sometimes decisions are made and people's views are changed, and in fact, we have to delay stuff because we want more information as a result of that discussion. Now, at workshop, I mean, this is not a pure democracy. This is a representative democracy. And you can work the workshop through your representative. Okay? Now, on city council meetings, you can speak for an item that's posted on the agenda, or you can sign up the Wednesday before a meeting for an item that's not posted on the agenda. So, I don't know how much more open we can be. I don't know how much more transparent we can be. We just may have to disagree. I mean, if you want to be right up there on the dais with us asking questions, or if you want to be in executive session, which is protected by law, that's just not the way we operate, because we are a city of laws, and we do believe in following all the laws.
A number of cities in the state of Texas have endorsed a program where the city attorney is no longer an employee of the city council. He is a member of the staff of the city manager. Our current city attorney has rejected more open record request under the client attorney clause of confidentiality. And it strikes me that, and it strikes a number of people in here, that why is something that is affecting a taxpayer not permitted to have the information that brought the conclusion that made the change?
We have to follow state law. That's the short answer there. And in his legal judgment, if he says it can't be disclosed, we're not attorneys and we pay him to give us that advice.
Would you be open to the idea of putting him under city manager?
No, I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why. It is because what you want is you want somebody that can be truly independent. If he reported to the city manager, that independence would go away because then the operational focus would change instead of the legal focus, because the city manager may want him to make a decision based on what he wants to do operationally. It's very similar if you're a CPA and you're doing an audit, you report to the board of directors, you don't report to the president. Same concept.
Okay, any questions out here? Yes.
Emergency services. I'm not going to go through all the spiel I did because
He heard it.
Well, I was wondering if you were giving a speech and running for something, or if you actually had a question.
Well, no, the question is very specific: is how are we going to address the issue and improve response time? I mean, our current chief was hired by a prior staff demographics, and most of those people are gone. And people, and I'll be blunt, people like Eason and John Rowe, and folks who influenced that hiring had a specific agenda, and it was fire-based EMS. So they hired somebody that supported it. We want better response time. What are we going to do to get it?
Oh, that's a great question. We have a world-class fire department, and as you should know, if you don't know, that 95% of our calls are no longer fire-related, they're medical-related. Back in the day, back in the 1800s, when we had our first volunteer fire department, 95% of the calls were fire-related. So you can see this massive transformation not only in Georgetown, but cities all around us and throughout the country. And what we need is we need more medical technicians than we do firefighters. And if you want more speed, this was the right decision for the city of Georgetown to take EMS in-house. Those closer to the problem are more likely to be able to solve it. When we had the county did a fantastic job, so with our tremendous growth, we are the fastest growing city in the country for a city of our population. We want, at the council level, to be able to determine the assets that we want to put on the ground that will influence the outcomes, and one of those outcomes is not only quality of service, but speed in which we get there. And I think you'll see over the next 2 or 3 years that our response times are going to be superior to what they were 3 years ago. And the bottom line is the city council, who is elected by the people of Georgetown, and then those are the people we serve, are the ones that makes the decisions where the fire stations are going to be, how many EMS personnel we're going to have, in order to meet the needs of our citizens.
Well, I have one challenge to that, is that the people in the donut holes who are paying the taxes for emergency services, specifically ESD 8, have an input into where fire stations go. So the chief is not the sole input of getting that done.
Well, no, at the end of the day, city council approves everything. But you have to understand, we have 26 different departments in our cities, and we have experts in each one of those departments. It's impossible for one councilman or one mayor to be an expert in all 26 areas.
I understand that the ESD has the authority to go build their own fire station if we don't get some resolution.
Well, we understand there's donut holes, and every time we have a census and we do redistricting, those donuts are addressed by the Justice Department. And it's not perfect, but I mean, Serenata is a great example of a donut hole. And it does not make any sense from the city to annex them, because no particular group is being disenfranchised voting. And if you go talk to the people of Serenata, okay, we annex you, here's $3,000 in city taxes, we give you a free library card. They have consistently rejected becoming a part of the Georgetown family. Now, they do love all the amenities that are in close proximity to their residents. They do love that quite a bit. I mean, with all the safety here, you have the police and you have all the shopping opportunities. They do like that, but they don't want to be annexed. At this point in time, we don't want to annex them.
Going to the point of annexation, do you believe the people being annexed should have a vote?
I don't know if they should have a vote, but they should be heard. I think that will require some kind of law change, because as long as you're in a city's ETJ jurisdiction, it's been a long established law with the state that city that has jurisdiction over ETJ can make those decisions. But I believe that everybody needs to be heard. Now, what happens more often than not, especially over the last 3 years, is voluntary annexations where a landowner comes to us and wants to become a member of the Georgetown family.
You know, the Rambles.
The Rambles, for example, which there was groundbreaking Thursday, which was well attended. There you go. I've given 80 speeches a year for the last 3 years, and the most popular question is, when are we going to get a different kind of grocery store? Well, that answer was delivered Thursday. We have a Randall's now.
Good, good. Along that same questioning line, under state law that needs to be changed, modified, or inspected, do you believe home rule cities have too much power?
No, I don't believe they have enough power.
Enough power.
Enough power. The people at the local level, we are the ones that can make your life better. Some bureaucrat in D.C. cannot tell us what's best for Georgetown. If you like long-distance control, you'll love the salamander issue in Williamson County. You want U.S. Fish and Wildfire running the city of Georgetown? I didn't hear an answer.
They don't want to tangle with me.
Oh, I don't know.
Under the Constitution.
With the home rule, though, it still gets back to the annexation question,
Right.
where cities can stomp a citizen's constitutional rights of determination over their own property.
Well, they can, but there are provisions in the law that if that's a taking, you have to get compensated with fair market.
Well, we're starting to fix it with eminent domain changes in the state law.
But it's not perfect. I mean,
Okay.
you gotta look at the overall rules. And I agree with you, they're not perfect.
We got to pick me. Okay, Dave.
Yeah, first off, at the federal level, we're starting to change that horrendous inequity and that tyranny that's been put on us, because there is no role for environmental protection in the Constitution for the federal government. But what is the counterbalance of any type of draconian rules coming down at the local level, say the municipality or the county? Because I remember that salamander issue and how you were going to go ahead and declare it off limits or something to prevent the state or the federal government from doing it. That's not the answer.
Well, that's not the facts. The facts were this. We, the city, passed a 4D rule by working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And what you could do is you come to us and we approve your project, or you can go to U.S. Fish, okay? But what we did is we made some reasonable rules with U.S. Fish, and the people that have, like John Yearwood has a lot of land out here, and he's been very vocal about, about these salamander rules have really devalued his property, and who's going to make him whole? And that's a very good question. But the city was instrumental in helping people be able to develop their land that they have in Williamson County, specifically Georgetown.
I guess I have the problem with coming to you for permission to do something on my land when it regards a little bitty salamander that somebody has.
Well, I think you're missing the whole point, and this is the point. Before us, you had no choice but to work with the federal government. And they dictated that you could not, depending on the habitat of the salamander, develop within 300 feet of a stream and stuff.
Up to 5 miles.
Up to 5 miles. So you could go work with your federal government, or you could come work with us, and we've worked out the rules with U.S. Fish.
Which
So
is
I don't
much
understand.
smaller.
I don't understand what your point is. We're here to help you, and you seem to be complaining about that.
Well, I didn't think it was much of a help when you categorized it, because I thought you should have stood against the federal government.
Okay, but let me tell you what, there are so many people that disagree with your position on that, because now people are being able to use their land based on what they would like to do with respect to the salamander rules.
Now, the federal government and the state are endorsing the 5 mile route. Can you imagine you have a pond that is maybe 4 feet deep and has 50 salamanders in it, but for 5 miles on all the circumference, you can't touch it?
And so, but let me comment on U.S. Fish and Wildlife. those of you that know, when you have these bureaucrats in the federal government, it really doesn't matter who the president is the first year, because it's that raincoat, they throw the raincoat on and say, this too shall pass. But we'll see, as President Trump is in office, if any of those bureaucrats get moved out so that you have people interpreting the law as it was written and the regulations of the federal government.
Mr. Rupert?
Mr. Over.
Don't eat one second.
I'm not going to vote for you, Dale, but I live in Round Rock, so I can't. But I have
Are you committed to the team or not?
He does have a sister that votes here.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Two quick questions, and I think I'm probably going to steal Terry's thunder. The first one, why is the electric contract a secret? And you can answer that in a second.
I'm sorry.
Why is the electric contract, why is your contract with whatever electrical provider we have, why is that a secret? Why can't we?
Because you look at the utility department as an enterprise and its business. Say, I'll give you a hypothetical. It's state law. The short answer is state law. And you can't. You can be in violation if you disclose some of those things. Okay, say you are a utility provider and we want to buy energy from you. And you say you're going to sell it to us for 7 cents a kilowatt hour. If that was out in the public, somebody else would come to us and say, we're going to sell it to you for 6 cents. And then once you have multiple contracts, then somebody says, oh, look, you sold it for them for 7 and this other one for 6. Why did you screw us around?
Well, and again, that all goes back to free enterprise.
But it's all about the legalities. If we disclose that, we could be breaking the law.
Okay, my other question is more a gripe than I've expressed it before, but if this is Georgetown, half is ETJ, half is Georgetown. Can I set that as a parameter? Everyone who shops in Georgetown is going to pay the state sales tax, which I believe 2.25%, 2.5% goes to the city of Georgetown. So all of us who live in ETJs are subsidizing the tax rolls of all of you who live in Georgetown. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. If you're in the city of Georgetown, 6 1/4 goes to the state of Texas.
Right.
And 2 cents,
Right.
2% go to the city of Georgetown. In the ETJ, it may be 6 1/4, and it depends if there's any special districts out there. It may not even get to being your 8 1/4 rate.
No, that's not my question. That's not my question. In Round Rock, I'm sure Georgetown is the same.
Yeah.
If a new business goes in an area that's an ETJ, Round Rock immediately wraps its arms around it because they want to gain those taxes. So if I go to Walmart in Round Rock,
Right, yeah, I get
I
that.
spend $100, some percentage of that goes to the city of Round Rock.
2%, yeah.
2% goes to Round Rock, so I'm being taxed. I mean, I can't shop anywhere without paying an extra 2 cents tax, but I get no benefit from it because I live in ETJ and I'm like the bastard stepchild.
Yeah. Okay, so the question
The
is,
question is, well, in fairness, I would think the city of Georgetown would want to somehow share that with the ETJs, as I wish Round Rock would, but it seems to me that we're taxing, you're gaining tax benefit without me being represented.
In other words, you can't vote in the ETJ. The ETJ cuts you out of the vote.
but if you get annexed, then you can vote in the
Yes.
city.
Yes.
I mean, you can still vote in the county and school board
I
races.
understand, but I'm paying taxes to the city of Georgetown, to the city of Round Rock, to the city of Austin.
When the ETJ, you're not, if you're in the ETJ, you're not paying city of
I'm
Georgetown.
paying sales tax no matter where I
Well, yeah, when you come, yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look at it 2 or 3 different ways. Do you ever get any benefit from Round Rock? Do you
No.
drive on Round Rock roads
Yes.
that are non-tolled, and you get the benefit of that? Do you ever go use the wonderful park system that Round Rock has? But it's open to you. It's, all these amenities are open to you. I get your point, but you get annexed, then you get to vote.
Great.
So there you go.
That's a problem we're working on. The legislative issue is the issue of representation of ETJ people. And it's got to be solved there.
Well, it has to be solved at the state level because locals can't solve it.
One question that came in is, what do you believe is the maximum debt per capita would you support? And would you base it upon growth of the city, or what? Is there a formula for our taxation?
No. Depends. It just all depends. You know, we have the lowest effective tax rate in Central Texas. we're the second safest city in the state of Texas for a city our size. We have a world-class park system. I think we're doing, oh yeah, and next Friday, Gary Park grand opening, which for those that don't know, Mr. Gary donated for his 525 acre ranch and house, plus he threw in $10 million. So 200 years from now, when that's the only green space within miles. So also, that park's also 1.5 times that of Zilker Park. So this was truly a gift that'll keep giving each and every year. What I look at is, we're in a fast growth environment. We're growing at 8%. We have $6.5 billion valuation inside the city limits. If you look at our development pipeline, we have another $2 billion. If you assume that's a 5-year build out, that's an 8% growth rate every year. Typically in a high growth environment, what you see is you see crime going up. And what you're seeing in Georgetown is remaining flat. And I attribute that to our wonderful police chief and all the good people, men and women in the blue, that are keeping us safe each and every day. And also credit the taxpayers and the citizens, because they demand a safe community. And if the people demand it, the government will deliver it, or you can get new representatives. The people were wise enough to build the public safety training facility out there, and that has been a huge recruitment tool to get quality law enforcement people here. And it's an economic development tool too, because we have law enforcement from all over the state coming here. I was there 2 weeks ago, and we had folks from Mexico. We had like 20 federales, and also I met the police chief of Mexico City, and she was a little person just like me, but she had a gun.
Our electric has 100% purchase.
It was in 2016, it was 100%.
It was?
It was, just on wind alone.
Okay. What is our contingency plan if one of those green energy providers does the cylinder act on us?
Well, first of all, right now, we have 97 windmills outside of Amarillo that's generating the wind. The solar farm is going to be completed in the first quarter of 2018. And so when we buy stuff on the spot market, it's green energy. But the thing is always, on the spot market, you can buy natural gas, you can buy coal, anything in the short run, you can buy. Now, the way it works is, say you have to calculate how many units you're going to need tomorrow. Say you calculate 80 units and you only need 60, then 20 of those units go back on the grid, and they're green energy that somebody somewhere down the transmission lines, because those transmission lines are agnostic. They don't really care the electrons and protons where they come from. All they know is they're going down this transmission line. But what this is, and some people ask the question, well, how much money have you saved the ratepayers so far? This isn't a short-term deal. This is not like short-term investing if you're a day trader in the stock market. We signed 20 and 25-year contracts where we're paying the same rate per kilowatt hour in the first year as we are in year 25. And there is no escalation. There's no COLAs in that. So you're going to really see the benefits. I would say in 10 to 15 years, you will see our kilowatt rate per hour will be significantly less than the surrounding communities. And it's a great economic development tool too, because our utility, say for example, if you're like Citicorp, you're a data center and you need a lot of energy. We have the energy, it's reliable, and it's cost effective. And also you can plan out. You know what your rates are going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. So that creates certainty with big businesses here. And also if you're Walmart has a robust green energy policy. They can report back to Bentonville that, oh, by the way, in 2016, all of the electricity we consumed was 100% green.
You see, that gets to the heart of my question, though, the fact that we have a 25-year contract.
Right.
That's a long period of time in which a green energy provider, which historically have proven not to be as stable as the traditional, fossil fuel.
Oh, I think they're going to be
go
more.
under before that 25 years is up. So what will happen in that event?
Well, I'll tell you this. I've gone to Amarillo 2 or 3 times in 16, and I was talking to the guys that do the maintenance on the turbines and stuff. They used to be in the oil field. And they said, this is great. He's like 40 years old. He says, these windmills, we've got contracts for 25 years. I've got job security for 25 years. I'll be retiring. And every month, by the time we get through, going through turbine 1 through 97, it's time to go on and do the maintenance again. And this is similar to when you have people working with fossil fuel. you know, the roughnecks and stuff and doing the maintenance on the oil wells and stuff. The wind in Amarillo is not gonna stop.
No, but what if the country running them goes belly up, and that's the.
Well, somebody's gonna fall in line with those, but the thing is, they won't go belly up because they have a 25-year contract and we're paying them for the wind energy every day.
So the biggest problem is too much wind, because Amarillo's known for tornadoes too.
Like that. But out in South Texas, if you look at West Texas out, you know, near Fort Stockton, the radiant factor out there is off the charts because, you know, you have that Montana wind tunnel that comes from Montana all the way through there. But when we made this, it was first and foremost a business decision. We had to get out of the contract with LCRA, and the mission was to minimize market volatility when it comes to pricing, and also regulatory risk with the feds in DC, because they like to regulate everything under the sun. There's very little to regulate with wind turbines and solar panels. And so this gives us even less risk as we go down this 25-year
So
time.
what you're saying is, well, they're not gonna go bankrupt, which means you're.
What they do, somebody else is gonna get the assets. And what we have is our agreement, and I'll say this, in our agreements, without giving you a number, a specific number, but if somebody's unable to fill our contracts, you're looking at a 7-digit penalty that they have to pay us.
If they can't fulfill it.
And well, then we get the assets.
Yeah.
So then you hire another operator to do the maintenance on the 97 windmills up there.
Okay.
There's going to be very few people that got the deal that we got. I mean, there was a certain amount of timing and good fortune to that. And also we have really smart people working our utility department with Jim Briggs and Ms. Foster. It's also put us, you know, on the map, although people are trying to drag us into different conversations than what this really was. This was a business decision. It wasn't anything to do with climate change or anything like that. I mean, this was economics.
Wait a minute, Bill. Is it appropriate to spend $13 million on new city offices?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so. I think so.
Little elaboration.
Well, I'll elaborate. Man of brevity. No, we're looking at this. Those offices are not going to get any cheaper, and you're looking at the growth of our city at 8%. You know, when you look at city hall staff, that's not going to increase exponentially as growth. I mean, you got one finance director. You continue to use one finance director. I mean, you may have some more lower level accounts and stuff, but it's time. It's time to have a state-of-the-art city council and a city hall. As more and more people from across the world are coming here, because the secret's out, it is the greatest city on planet Earth. People are showing it. Well, it is. I mean, why are we the fastest growing city in the country? Well, I can speculate on that. One, we're safe. Two, we got great schools. This is probably what you read from the state legislature. You got Southwestern University, the oldest chartered university in the state of Texas is here. You have, God has blessed us with lakes and rivers and trees. You have the most beautiful town square in the state of Texas down there. It's like a magnet that draws people here. But when people come here, they're usually asking two things. How safe is your city and how good are your schools? And then everything after that is really a bonus, but it is a great place to work, live, raise kids, and retire. I mean, we've got a huge retirement community here.
Let me elaborate on that a little bit, because you missed what, in my opinion, was the number one reason that a lot of people come to Georgetown. You just totally missed it, so maybe you're not aware of it. We got the lowest tax rate in Central Texas. That's why I'm here. That's why my boss is thinking of coming here with a few years when he retires.
Well, Rick, if I listened to everything, I could be here a week. But no, your point, that's a great point. We are the lowest effective tax rate, and we're doing that despite the growth, because if you look at sales tax revenue, last year it was up 12% over the year before. This year it's even higher than that. Our growth rate's 8%. Sales tax is up 13% this year. You look at your real estate taxes that are up 11%. Growth is actually paying for itself, and if you're over 65 and you've got a property tax rate, everybody thinks of Sun City. But you know, 34% of our population has their property taxes froze, and that's an opportunity cost of between $2 and $2.5 million a year. But I wouldn't trade that for the world, because those good people in Sun City, and other folks that are over 65, give way back more to our community than that $2.5 million. It's just amazing. They give their time, talent, and treasure.
We have one question.
I'm just really relieved because I thought they were coming here to turn us blue.
Right?
I thought they were coming here to turn us blue.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what, if you want to talk numbers a little bit, I've been known to run a campaign or two in the local level here, and that's the opposite of what's actually happening here. If you look at Councilman Hesser's race, he's District 3, which is about half of Sun City. 73% of his district is Republican.
What it was 4 years?
And then 4 years ago it was 65%. So if you drill down in the numbers, it's not what everybody thinks it is. We're not going blue, we're going redder. You didn't ask me what party I was affiliated with.
This is a nonpartisan race.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you about this. Let me tell you, that's good. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about, now this race, it truly is. But in Valerie's race, and there's two school board races, the state Democratic Party is giving resources and money and time and people to defeat her and Melanie Dunham and Ben Stewart on the school board. In Round Rock, they're supporting 2 candidates for council there. They have identified, there's a list of about 50 statewide races, and they're getting involved. And I'll tell you what they're going to find out here in Georgetown. You can get the state Democratic Party involved all you want, but we're going to not only hold our seats, we're probably going to take one.
Jim?
Yes.
Well, Mayor, looking at your push card, I see a symbol on here on firefighters, and this isn't a question about firefighters, but underneath here, on that little symbol says AFL-CIO. When you go look at complete websites, you find the same thing, AFL-CIO. And when you go back to the history of AFL-CIO, 40 years, it was run by union bosses, and a big organization, but it was focused on the union members.
Right.
Over the last 30 years, it's transitioned to being controlled by a whole new different group of leadership that ties itself closely to SIEU, and international behavior and UN connections. What is your position on the possible risk that could exist with that sort of influence, unionizing of our emergency services, being influenced by an international organization to the point where they might create an environment where they would send all those people on strike when the globalists don't get their way?
Well, public safety workers, it's illegal to strike in Texas. Second of all, we have...
Still they all call in sick, it's not a strike.
Well, again, I mean, if you're going to go down that road, then our laws and rules don't mean anything in the state. You have to, you would think that people that are public servants that have chosen a noble calling, which is helping people, whether in fire or police, that they would obey the rules. In our fire department, we have meet and confer, just like we do with the police. Meet and confer, they sit down with our designated agent, and council in this case is our city manager. He sits down with the president of their union, both police and fire. They talk about next budget season, what they would like to see. I mean, we're not like Austin, where 5 years ago they had a $38 million budget deficit, and it had to do with public safety. Because if you look at our budget, our general fund budget's somewhere around $57 million, and about 49% of that budget is public safety, which is the #1 function of a local government. So it's about right.
Dave?
Yes, do you think the city should be giving tax dollars to nonprofit organizations, and why?
Well, that's part of our fabric here, and each year there's $400,000 in social services, and that's been frozen since I was on council back in '08, and there's $400,000. For example, $100,000 of that goes to the caring place, and of that $100,000, what the services that they provide the city is, when people can't afford to pay their electric bill and they're people in need, they have a list of people, and they filter that list, and they give those names to us, and recommend those people be given, because in your utility bill, you can donate that's money, and they manage that. It's part of, it's part of the fabric. Say for a while, let me explain something. Faith in Action Caregivers, okay? I serve on Campo, and Campo gave a $120,000 grant to Faith in Action. The Faith in Action is your mother or your grandmother, and you're nowhere to be found because you're a bad son and you're away, and she has to go to the doctor. So Faith in Action picks her up at her doorstep, takes her to her doctor's appointment. They don't just dump her off. They wait there until she's through with the doctor, and then they take her back home. So those are some of the things that if social service funding wasn't being used, who's going to pay for that?
I would submit to you, it's not the government's job to do that, to make
In
it
any
charitable.
case, in any case. So you would say zero social service. How about how about homeless teenagers?
How about homeless teenagers? Why do we have a system in which nonprofits get tax exempt status from the government so they can operate and then get contributions from the government in the form of tax dollars, which we don't have a say in because government wasn't put in place for that.
See, I keep on hearing this, you don't have a say. We are not a pure democracy. We are a representative democracy.
We're a constitutional republic.
Well, we are, and that is a representative democracy by definition. A republic is government without a king. You have elected representatives. If you don't like the decisions they're making, run against them and turn them out so that you can make those decisions. Because it's not the critic that counts, it's the man in the arena that counts.
Quit fighting City Hall, become City Hall.
One last question.
Are you going to just dominate the whole conversation?
I spend so much time in the
I can
legislature.
tutor you privately, because you have a lot of questions. Get him out of your hair, right?
Like I said, I spent so much time in the legislature. Dallas and Houston are in deep kimchi from pensions. What pension? Underfunded pension
Oh, yeah,
programs.
sure. Oh, I love talking about ours.
Okay, that's what, yeah.
Oh, I love to talk
What is the
about
current position of Georgetown's funded?
Well, what you'll see
position
at
in
the end of
pension program?
this fiscal year, it's gonna be about 89%. Currently, it's 82, and the gold standard is 7. And you may read, somebody put out there, oh, it was $23 million unfunded this year compared to 14 last year, and that's all they put out there. But you go on and find cities, or any state that's funded 70%, that's gold. We're at 82 right now. Our people are gonna get their money when they retire. And I tell you what, we'll probably, in the next couple of years, we'll probably be above 90%. Our people have no worries when they retire from the city of Georgetown, the money will be there.
Is that one of the specific goals as you do your annual budget, is to reach a specific pension funding level?
We do. Years ago, when I was on council, it was 70, and then it got moved up to 80, and now we're gonna move it up, my guess, in the next year to 90.
Is that gonna be your goal, 90?
It's my goal. I don't know what council's goal will be, but that's what my goal will be.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we're in an environment where we can consistently make that goal. I mean, all you have to do is have the political will and the money to do that. And, I mean, you look at the San Diego, you see the issues there. You see Illinois. And then, the United Pilots years ago, I mean, they were getting $60,000 a year in retirement. Turns out that the federal government insurance is about $30,000 a year. And once you're grounded after you're X number of years old in the airline industry, you can't go back to work,
Any others? Okay, Terry.
I have a question. You got the 1.625 million in the slush fund from last year.
A slush fund.
Yeah.
It's not a slush fund, Jerry.
Well, it's called,
You call it a slush fund. It's excess fund balance.
it's called council's discretionary
Oh, it
fund.
is. It is indeed.
To me, that's a slush fund. So how are you going to spend it, and how are you going to decide how to spend it?
Well, that'll be a decision the council makes over the next budget season, or over the next 3 to 4 months. We just got that number, I think, within the last month.
Right.
And so we'll look at some of the things that council does with that is some of these reserve funds, like the cemetery fund.
Right.
That's an option to bolster that. You know that we have our own health insurance fund
Right.
for our citizens, and that's worked out extraordinarily well.
That's fine.
And it never hurts if you got a little extra cash to go on and stick some money in the health insurance fund. The council will make those decisions.
What about the number of bond issuances that are being proposed that are pretty small, like police radios for $150,000? Why aren't you just funding that out of cash?
Well, see, that's a good
Issuing
thing. Well, I know that's a
bonds?
great question, because that conversation is being held right now, and it'll continue to be. It makes no sense if you've got cash to go on. Now, that was the way our ex-finance director liked to handle things. We've had some changes in our senior leadership over the last 3 years.
Well, I would like to be part of those discussions, and so I.
Oh, well, you know, we have a chair up the front row during budget, you can be there, and those conversations, Mr. Brainerd has mentioned that several times as well, that it doesn't.
You gotta explain to people, this is my understanding, you gotta explain to people if this is wrong or right. When you wanna influence something the city does, by the time it gets to city council, it's too late to speak there. I mean, the chances are extremely small that you're going to affect a change.
I think there's some truth to that comment, yeah.
We have no opportunity to speak at a workshop.
No, but you can be there, and you can listen.
So you can hear.
And then why don't you work through your council member after the workshop?
So that's what you need to do. Also, can you not then back up one more step and attend some of these commission meetings where these same issues are discussed?
Yeah.
And then you have, the public does have the authority to have an input in the commission meetings, is that not true?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's really where you ought to be going to influence.
See, I would disagree with you a little bit that, you know, we have 28 boards and 180 board members. And those are all open meetings.
Right, they are.
And you can go there.
Right.
Okay? And workshop is open, and you're free to talk to any council member. Now, you're not allowed to talk to the mayor, but you're allowed to talk to any council member you want on any issue. But no, I think there is some truth to, by the time it gets into prime time, people are already formulating opinions based on information. But like I said earlier, a lot of times the council members vote and opinion is changed on the dais.
I haven't seen that much.
Well, you know what, if you would sit in all the meetings like I do, you have to wait a while, but it shows
I
up.
attend a good many of the city council meetings.
Let me say one
Oh,
thing.
no, you
On
really-
the Planning and Zoning Commission, in 1 year, we overruled the city staff more than the previous 5 years.
Well, that's why I
Because we've
say,
got people that this man has appointed that understands property ownership and business rights. And we are enforcing the law perfectly without having the usual suspects from downtown come and tell us what we need to do.
Well, now, and, you know, a lot of these boards, they're very important boards. P&Z is one of the more important boards. JEDCO and GTEC, the Economic Development Boards, where they can recommend spending money. And then HARC, which is just specific to the Historical Overlay District. But they can infringe on, in my view, property rights. Okay, now, let's be clear, council on property rights has the ultimate say, but sometimes there's a rule that I wish the state legislature would change, and it's a 20% rule, where if you have a piece of property that wants to be rezoned, and say P&Z unanimously approves it, but you have 20% of the landowners in the area object, then council has to have a supermajority, which would be 6 out of 7, which, you know, you could have 2 council members that disagree with the people and disagree with P&Z. And I wish they would change that to a more reasonable, say, 50% or something like that. 20% is a really low standard to get somebody to disagree. Can I talk about Senate Bill number 2?
Yes, let's go right ahead.
Senate Bill, your favorite Senator, Charles Schwarzenegger, I've already had a meeting with him. Dan Patrick, you know, Dan Patrick lists the bills and his priority, Senate Bill 1 through 10, this is Senate Bill number 2. He's trying to deliver on a campaign promise, and he really wants to tell me in Georgetown how to manage our city. I told him at a meeting, I said, if you're really believing in tax relief for the people, you know, why don't you start in your own house? why don't you get rid of waste, fraud, mismanagement? Get rid of that first, because currently constituted, do you know how much Terry, do you know how much, if this Senate Bill 2 passes, do you know how much you enjoy are gonna save in tax relief in Georgetown every month?
Oh, I have nothing in tax relief.
Well, I'm just asking if you know, because you keep up with this budget stuff. 85 cents. If this passes, he's gonna beat his chest and say, I have saved you 85 cents. What really needs to happen, and this Senate Bill 2 only applies to cities and counties. School districts are exempt, MUDs are exempt, and let me tell you what, I don't know about your property tax bill, but when I look at mine, 60% of mine is school taxes. What this is a distraction, because they've screwed up school finance so bad, they're burdening the local districts. The city of the GISD has just shipped off 3.5 million of your tax dollars to other places, and they won't fix it. And so the other thing too is they have unfunded mandates. They tell us as a city and as a county, you got to do this, but they don't give us the funds to implement. So I am terribly opposed to this. All my colleagues, city council members and mayors throughout the region, this is just a power grab. You got Senator Bentoncourt, who used to be the tax collector down in Harris County in Houston. He's leading the charge on this. And thank God for Terry Wilson, because Terry Wilson believes in local control. If you're going to hold me accountable for performance, I have to have some control over the input. And I will stack our city up against the state anytime in any category, whether it's finance, tax rates, public safety, education. We do it better than the state could even dream of doing it. And yet, they want to tell us. But the more important point would be, what if the federal government came down and started telling these senators, this is what you're going to do, because of our grace and law and our Constitution, you only have a state because of our grace and the Constitution. But what if we tell you how to manage that? You know?
Okay, Mayor.
Other than take me out of the undecided category on that. Okay?
So, in other words, Senate Bill 2 should apply to all taxing entities.
Heck yeah, it should. I mean, why is a school district in MUD's different?
They shouldn't be.
Right. So this is what I'm saying.
MUDs are really terrible.
See, this is why this is political. Because if you're going to be intellectually honest, you just say everybody is subject, because we are the Senate and we are the House and we know better than you. Well, no, you don't.
Well, they're all wrong, because property tax against the individual residents.
Well, they don't even want to address that
It's
either.
unconstitutional to start with, because it's
That's
a direct
right.
tax.
One last question, Mr. Cotton.
I'm just gonna rebut the.
Okay, rebuttal. One rebuttal.
Oh, I didn't think I was going to have to keep you after school today, but
I am for Proposition 2. It
okay.
does not restrict you at all.
No, but let's be honest. Let's be honest. This is the lieutenant governor is saying property. This is tax relief, 85 cents a month.
No, it's tax reform. It is not tax.
How does it
relief.
reform anything? All
Oh,
it
yes,
does.
it does.
You want to tell me? Okay, let me tell you what. If we get in a budget crisis, we'll just we won't patrol Sun City. Okay.
No. You will go to the residents and say, hey, we need more money. It was
Terry,
about 5%.
Terry, the calendar doesn't work. By the time you make that decision, the calendar doesn't work. You can't do that before October 1st.
Can't never did anything, Mayor.
Well, I'm just saying, no, it's a math problem, Terry.
No, it is.
It is a math problem.
Well,
You can't,
If
the
you
calendar
want to delay
won't
it a year,
work.
fine. You delay it a year, suck it up for a year and do it for the
But
next
we
year.
won't have to worry about that, because you don't think that we're not gonna let the safety of our citizens suffer,
Right.
okay? But I tell you what, you gotta be held accountable in the state.
Time's up. Thank you very
I
much.
told you it would take a while with Sarah.
You have a final
Oh,
sentence.
yeah, the final thing, it's always a pleasure to be here, but it's a duty as a citizen. You've got school board races out there. Melanie Dunham and Ben Stewart are being run against the Democrats. Valerie Nicholson is a Democrat, he's running against them. And my guy is the whack job of all whack jobs. He's left of Bernie Sanders. And he was here 3 years ago and did not vote in the mayor's race, although he was eligible. So now he wants you to vote for him to be mayor.
Give an explanation of what happened when John was running. And how she was supported by.
Yeah, what happened is on election day, we were out walking, and the Travis County Democrats, they sent their team in.
In busloads.
In busloads. And we were walking, And what they were saying is Councilman Ross is going to close all the parks. We're gonna
Yeah.
shut down all, and you know what? I lost by 8 votes.
Oh,
Hey,
8. And that's, the reason the Democrats are going after these council seats is because the numbers are so small. It's just all about turnout.
Yep.
Now, we're gonna turn out people, and we are gonna turn out people in both of these races in the school board. But you know what? We can't let the Democrats get a foothold at the local level.
need walkers.
Well, I think you need to leverage what just happened this past November, is people woke up to the fact that their vote does count. And maybe our percentages will go up, and those people will get off their couches and vote more.
Yeah, in council races, typically you see 15 to 20% turnout in Georgetown.
The
And
problem is the Democrat turnout is the one that's gonna go up because they're energized because of losing the presidential.
They're energized, but it's the same number of people that have already voted. We're
Right, that's
talking about
right.
people that hadn't voted for the last 20, 30 years, who have now been awakened. We got to get them to return to the poll.
that's right.
Yeah.
I tell you what, and then, you know, I give Bill a hard time and I give Terry a hard time, but I do like coming here because you have people that are informed on the issues and ask really intelligent questions. There are no softball questions.
No.
And that's, because I'm gonna do a forum next Friday night, the Williamson County Sun. It's in the courthouse. My guy's not showing up. Valerie guy is showing up.
What's
Oh, is he?
It starts at 6 o'clock on Friday. Next Friday in the courthouse. I think I'm going 6 to 7, and Valerie and David are going 7 to 8. And I already said that if my guy doesn't show up, I get that block. I mean, I will give a speech, and then we all know me. Hey, come on, anybody got any questions? You know, come on, because I'm not afraid to take y'all's questions.
What room is that in?
It's in the district courtroom on the 2nd floor. You can't
The
miss it.
session's over, but go ahead and say what you want to say.
Does the duck come to this meeting too?
That should be there.
Really? Thank y'all very much. Y'all appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.